Hey, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? Can everybody hear me okay? Put a 1 in the chat if you guys can hear me okay. Everything is brand new, so I have to make sure that you guys can hear me. Thanks, John. Thanks, Jennifer. Hey, Pigeon. Thank you. Hi. Hey, Tech Death. How are you? Hey, Shelby. How are you? Hey, John. Good to see you. Hey, Sierra Geralds. How are you? Hi, Barbara. I hope everybody's having a good Saturday and has had a good part of their first part of their weekend. How are you, Pigeon Mac? It's always good to see you. Hey, Robin. Hey, Stacy D. Hi, Green Size, Sierra. Oh, Barbara, thank you. Well, I'm glad you're in the chat tonight, Green Eyes. Hi, Carrie. Well, thank you. How kind of you. Tech Death, I'm glad you're feeling better. That's good news. Hey, CJK. Hey, Boston Christian. Good to have you in the house. I like those days too, Barbara. They're always nice, aren't they? When we can just kind of not do anything and just hang around. It's always kind of nice for sure. Hey, Jasper Kennedy. Good to have you here. So I wanted to say a couple of things. First of all, thank you to everyone who has been here with me and supported me for the last 6 months. It has officially been 6 months since I started my YouTube channel, and I couldn't do it and couldn't have been here without you guys. You guys have been amazing. I feel like we're building a really good community here, and my mods are absolutely the best mods around. I cannot say enough. Hey, Vince, how are you? Hey, Danger Dave, so good to see you. If you would have asked me 6 months ago if I would be where I am today, I would have told you no. There was no way that I thought that I would be close to almost 1,600 subscribers and doing as well on YouTube as I am. I feel like just in the last couple of months, we have made huge, huge progress on the Flora Fire case. Danger Dave, thank you so much for your support. I so appreciate you. Thank you. Hey, Unsolved Crimes. How are you, Allie? It's always good to have you here, my dear. Oh, Pam, thank you so much. I missed you guys on Thursday. I hope everybody was able to take the night off from me and find something to do. I know I sprung that on you guys a little quickly, but I just needed to take the night. So, as I was saying, the channel has been doing really, really well. I now have my own merchandise. And you know what, you guys? That's really crazy. but people are buying it. I was like, I thought it was fun to create it and just to design it and get it out there, but people are actually purchasing it. I can't believe that people want to wear stuff with my Behind the Crime Door on it. And that really makes me happy. So thank you for all of you who are doing that and participating. Hey, Daisy, how are you? Yes, isn't her last video, Meow Zedong's video, amazing? Oh my gosh, I know. It's just, Jennifer, it's not even winter yet. What are you talking about? Hey, Pookie, how are you? So I've got merchandise. You guys can buy me teas. People are doing that. I so appreciate everyone who's going over to buy me a coffee. And since I don't drink coffee, I actually asked for you guys to buy me a tea. I love chai tea lattes. Shelby can attest to that. For you guys who don't know in the chat, Shelby is my daughter. And so please welcome her and treat her with as much love and kindness as you do everyone else. She's been extremely busy the last few months. She's not been able to be in chat, but she's here with us tonight, and I'm really excited about that. Hey, Melissa. Hi, Digital. Good to see you guys. Good to see you guys. And I can't say enough about Michelle and Jennifer. They really hold things together for me and really keep things going in the chat. John has really stepped up and he's doing a wonderful bang up job. Tech Death is always here for me. He's always giving me support and moral support and victory, I guess I should say, when I'm feeling like I just kind of want to take a step back. You know, he's always telling me how I need to just keep going and doing a good job. So I appreciate him very much. And Unsolved Crimes, Allie is like my new best friend. She's just incredible. If you guys haven't gone over and subscribe to her channel, please make sure that you do. She has amazing content as well. And I really appreciate her. So, yeah, Tech Death, I know you're quiet, but you know what? Your music's not. Your music's amazing, and we get to listen to it as the intro, and we get to listen to it at the end of the show as the outro. So I'm good with that. Daisy, thank you for posting Kiara, Cariel, Kiani, and Galen's names for me. Please, everyone, hold them close to your heart. We have been doing a lot in the background for Galen and the girls. I did post some things in the community page of the channel, so I hope you guys were able to see it. But we now have a sweatshirt. I'm sorry, not a sweatshirt. I apologize. It's a bag, an organic bag, I believe, that we're putting out there to raise money for Galen. And Jennifer, you are not chopped liver. I just said you and Michelle hold me together. You'll have to go back and listen. You are not chopped liver. Hey, Meow, how are you? So good to see you, my dear. So, Meow has that over on her channel. I also posted her newest video. You guys, please go watch that. You need to see the new video that Meow has put out regarding all the fires in Carroll County. It is eye-opening. And please buy the bag. Yes, if you guys can, please go out there and purchase that bag. It's for a wonderful cause. Meow's been doing some amazing things behind the scenes. There's a lot going on, you guys, and I just want everybody to know that just because you don't see things happening or everything seems quiet, it doesn't necessarily mean that nothing's going on. So we're making noise. We're getting people to pay attention. There are definitely people listening to us. And hey, Betty, how are you? Welcome. Hi, Louisa. How are you? So good to have you here. So, with everything going on with Flora and it not getting the attention, we started delving into why. And some of the things we were finding made us all just really take a step back and really ask the question, do we have a serial arsonist on working in this part of Indiana? And I think that the answer is most definitely. There are so many unsolved fires, and they have absolutely no idea how these fires started. That's what they claim. And there's just too many for it to be coincidental. Their fire statistics are way above average. And then the fire deaths of female children and females is just off the charts. Now, what does that have to do with Delphi? Well, tonight we're going to talk about serial killers and serial killers who like to kill using fire. Serial killers who start out as arsonists. Believe it or not, a lot of serial killers love to play with fire and also start fires and do a lot of that early on before they move on to serial killing. And some serial killers continue to use fire as a method of murder, not only to cover up evidence or to cover up crimes, but to lead investigators down the wrong path because they're thinking they're dealing with just an arsonist. And so there's a lot to unpack. I've got a lot of information. I spent 2 days while I was putting up my new computer and getting it all together so that I could live stream for you guys. I also was doing research on this subject. And, oh, great, Allie. Awesome. So, guys, Allie just let me know tomorrow night at 8 p.m. I'm sorry. Tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. So my time, 9 p.m. I will be live on Unsolved Crimes Uncovered with Gonzo. And so Allie and I will be talking Delphi and Flora with him and some other topics as well as to what he's up to. So please make sure you guys mark that down tomorrow night because that should be a very good show as well. And hey, Tamara. Oh, it's so good that you popped in to say hello. Enjoy your time with your family. There's nothing like it, right? So yeah, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central, and 7 p.m. Pacific, and 8 p.m. Mountain. So if you're in the Mountain time zone. Yes, Unsolved has a channel, and you need to go check her out. Please like and subscribe to her. She has amazing Danger Dave. It's going to be on Allie's channel, Unsolved Crimes Uncovered. Unsolved, if you'll drop your link to your channel, please, in the chat so everyone, or Jennifer, so everyone can find it. But that's tomorrow night. So I wanted to give an update real quick on the Kiely Rodni case out of California that we've all been talking about and that everybody has been so interested in. It seems like she's and I hate to say this, she's the new hot topic for the missing in this country right now. 16 years old. She went missing 2 weeks ago yesterday. She was at a graduation party near Lake Tahoe by Truckee, California. And she was in the company of approximately 200 to 300 teenagers and young adults. They were in the woods, forest, whatever, campsite area for this party. There was underage drinking, there was drugs going around, and the kids were supposed to be celebrating graduation. Kylie graduated from high school at the age of 16. She was a wonderful young woman. She had plans. She had a good relationship with her parents. Her parents describe her as the girl who never missed curfew, always called them if something was going to make her late, which she did that night. She called her mother and asked her mother if she could be a half an hour late for curfew. She never made it home. So there's been a lot with her. There has been numerous searches over the last couple of weeks. There's kinds of theories all over the place. The sheriff's office is considering this a abduction because they cannot find her or her car. And since her car is also missing, they are considering it an abduction. There is rumor that she ran off the highway on her way home because she may have been drunk or under the influence of some sort of drugs, and maybe drove off a boat ramp into the lake. There have been dive teams searching the bodies of water in and around. They have had drones out. They have had horses on horseback. I mean, it's just all kinds of things going on around her search, lots of them. But what I wanted to talk about tonight with her, just briefly, I did want to say that the Adventures with Purpose are now in Truckee. For those of you who follow them on YouTube, Adventures for Purpose are guys who go out and actually dive and look in the water for missing people. And they have located many people that have been missing for years. So it's, they're good at what they do. And I think a lot of people are happy to know that they're there now and that they will be able to get the show on the road with really getting down to searching the waters for her. They have equipment for some reason that the government doesn't have, which I find that really hard to believe, but that's what I've been reading. They did do an interview. There's an interview out there on YouTube on News Nation. So if you guys want to go look at that, Doug Bishop from Adventures with Purpose did an interview with News Nation. You guys can go look at that. But what I wanted to talk about was something that I saw on Reddit about her case. And I thought that this was interesting and worth going over. As I said, there are a number of people who believe that Kylie ended up in the water. This particular person says this, and I just thought this was worth repeating. Give me a moment. This is by Entropic Civ, is the username on Reddit, who posted this. And this is resummarizing. Hang on a second. I want to move this over here to where I'm not looking away from you guys. So this is resummarizing the case for abduction. And basically, what they say is that they've seen many recent posts on here that are claiming that Kylie most likely had a car accident and is in the water somewhere or hidden in some steep embankment until Adventures with Purpose finds her in the water somewhere or her car is eventually discovered in some ravine, in which case I'll have to eat crow. I would like to emphasize that for the time being, I still think that an abduction is the most likely case, and here is the reasons why. Footage from both the party site area and the road leading into it showed few places where it would be easy to go off of the road and into the water or some deep chasm. If Kylie had truly been drunk and tried to drive home, it would have been much more likely that she would have hit some tree on the road and gone on slightly off of it, gone only slightly off of it. Likewise, the whole idea that a drunk driver could have made a competent wrong turn onto the boat ramp and zoomed straight off of it just doesn't add up. Drunk drivers don't drive straight. The only reason this argument is alive is because of the depth of the reservoir. We'll see what AWP finds. I'll believe this if I see it. As others have said, there would likely be other evidence, such as oil slicks, tire tracks, damage to guardrails, etc. The party was advertised far and wide, and anyone could have parked a car within 2 miles. For example, at the Donner Party picnic area or lakeside campground, and walked to the party. 2 to 3 miles is nothing for someone who is up to something. If adults with drugs had come, someone could have hitchhiked or gotten a ride without anyone knowing who they were, and no questions would have been asked. You could have even had someone ride a one-wheeler or scooter into the party and put it in her car when they took her. The teens don't know what happened because they were all drinking, and no one is going to remember what happens to some random person that you don't know, especially when there are no lights and people are drunk and getting high. If you're drunk and high and sitting in your car and some other car pulls out and goes off in front of you, are you going to remember the license plate or who was driving? No, you won't. You probably won't even remember what type of car it was. Again, it's totally dark. You will only see the headlights, and the only realistic chance that someone saw her car was when it was still parked or if it left in the group near 12:30 a.m. If there were drug dealers or older people looking to take advantage of high schoolers, those people are not going to be talking either. Either they don't know or they couldn't care less. Such people won't help the cops even if anonymously. If there really were these kinds of people there, they will have to be identified, sought, and if possible, charged with an actual crime before they'll talk. Some people have said that Kylie couldn't have been abducted without someone observing a struggle. I will just say emphatically, I think this view is incorrect. The campground was pitch black. People are drunk, high, and fighting, if reports are correct. And if someone screams in the dark, it's no biggie. There's always a scream or two at parties like this. In addition, if Kylie had been drugged or had become quickly trusting of someone, it's entirely possible she wouldn't have had the presence of mind to know what was happening to her. Finally, if Kylie did stay for any amount of time after everyone left at 12:30, there would be far fewer people to witness anything. Sammy Smith didn't do it. All witnesses have faulty memories. So what if they weren't really friends? The worst she could possibly have done was spike Kylie's drink or something just to mess with her or see what happened. She got a ride home. She didn't take the car or Kylie's body. And even if she had drugged her, I seriously doubt it. No one is going to clean up the mess made by a random girl on another random girl. No drug dealer is going to stick around to deal with a body that isn't their problem, no matter what they were doing at the party. And finally, even if you don't personally like Sammy Smith, and I'm not saying that I do, attacking her is unhelpful to this investigation because it might scare other teens from coming forward. People need to let this go in a big way. Law enforcement knows more about her than you do. And in addition, I've heard Kylie's family doesn't think she's involved. Kylie was likely not abducted by another teenager, nor by another group of teenagers. Simply put, most teenagers do not have the resources nor the criminal skill to conceal an entire car and or body without making a mistake or having someone else notice. This would require major complicity from a parent or friend with significant means. In my view, instead of a group of teenagers successfully abducting another teen and concealing large pieces of evidence, it is more likely that you're looking at the work of a lone wolf or professional adult crime ring, sex traffickers, for example, that found out about this party. Based on the fact that a large number of cars left the location at 12:30 a.m., it is possible there was a second party location, but we don't have any confirmation of that from law enforcement. And if there was a second party, it is statistically likely that at least one person has told law enforcement about it, either in person or anonymously. Also, if Kylie did end up at such second party, regardless of whether anyone saw her or not, the lack of information about it means it was likely suspicious and increases the odds of abduction anyway. Kylie could easily have texted her mom when she was coming home and then either changed her mind or decided to wait in her car until she was less drunk or high. If she left the doors partially open or unlocked and then stays at the campground while a large number of people leave at 12:30 a.m., she could easily have been ambushed later. And it is also very plausible that no one would hear it since you're talking about people passed out or high in their own cars. The phone details are important, but there is a dearth of confirmed information. People have made a lot of hash about how the phone might be in the water, but the PCSO explicitly stated it was possible there was lost data and the phone could have continued to ping. We don't have confirmation of exactly what type of phone it was either, or exactly where this last ping was. Her phone could simply have died and then been smashed or chucked in the water later. She could have been lured near the water, or maybe even the geolocation data was off by some distance. It doesn't matter if the phone would continue to ping if the perpetrator just disposes of it at or near the campground, or if they'll pull out the battery or smash it. But beyond all that, we don't even know if the phone had the ability to keep pinging after dying. If Kylie was abducted, it was very likely someone older than her. It was either a lone wolf who knew her, a lone wolf who didn't know her and saw an opportunity, or a crime ring. Some people say that the abduction scenario is only consistent with someone that she knew and trusted, and I disagree. I think back to the Molly Tibbetts case when lots of people, including her own father, thought she got into a car with someone that she knew. That was, of course, not at all the case. What I do think is possible is that Kylie may have become too trusting of an older person who offered to drive her home or to another party and then didn't. When the PCSO says that they believe someone knows something, they don't necessarily mean someone has knowledge of a crime. All they mean is that someone may have important knowledge that they themselves are yet unaware of. It's impossible to read into this statement without being privy to the investigation. One potential weakness to the abduction theory in her own car is that the car was supposedly low on gas. But is there absolute confirmation of this? Unless all the nearby gas stations had CCTV, the perpetrator could have paid cash for more gas and hit the burners. Or they took her a short while away and disposed of the car later. Finally, one last comment about the prevailing alternative theory. Kylie somehow went the wrong way and ended up in a crash that killed her and where the car was concealed. And all I'm going to say is that cars are hard to hide. One of the cases where this did in fact happen on land, almost all were discovered within a few weeks, up to about 6 weeks at most. So we'll see what happens in the next few weeks. But the longer this goes on, without her car wreck being found, the more and more likely it is you're looking at an abduction. Same thing if AWP cannot find her in the reservoir. Plus, the vast majority of roads that abut water in this area have some sort of tree line around them. Now, I thought that was absolutely an amazing account of Kylie's case. When I read it, I thought, this person truly and absolutely understands how these cases work and really hit all the bases, I thought, and really made a case for believing the abduction theory versus the crash theory. Of course, we don't know. And it is an absolutely remote area. We know that most of the roads out there are dirt roads, so anything is possible. But part of me just really, really feels that she's going to get found. I just don't know when, obviously, and I hope it's sooner than later. And I hope that when they find her, she's okay. The longer it goes on, the worse that, or the less likely that is, I guess I should say. And I do feel so bad for her family and her parents. Such a beautiful girl. She didn't deserve whatever has happened to her. And we will continue to monitor her case. Because like I said, she is basically the talk of every social media outlet right now. Everybody's talking about her case. And rightfully so. I mean, I'm not saying she shouldn't get the coverage, but it's definitely all over the place. So let's go ahead and jump into, I'm sure that you guys had a lot to say about what I was talking about. But I'm going to go ahead and move on because I've got a lot to cover. She's been missing, Barb, for 2 weeks yesterday. It'll be 2 weeks yesterday, or it was 2 weeks yesterday that she went missing. And yeah, Jennifer, I feel the same way that she's the next Gabby Petito. And I just feel for the souls that are out there that don't get that coverage. That's all. I just do. And you guys know that. So, whoops. So one of the things I want to bring up here, I'm getting used to my new computer, so just bear with me tonight, you guys. If things get a little muddled or a little slow, it's just because I'm trying to find things. So please bear with me, because honestly, I went from a PC to a Mac, and it's like it's like crazy. That's all I can say. It's very different than what I'm used to. And I'm one of those original Windows users. So I've been here since since before computers, guys. And yeah, so I've kind of followed the whole thing, and I've been a PC girl the whole way. So which is funny because I'm an Apple phone girl, so I've always had, I love my Apple phone. So anyway, the making of a serial killer hinges on a lot of things, is one of the things that I found out in doing. Hey, Avondale Mama, good to see you. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you follow me on Reddit. I appreciate that. Isn't she though, Shahid? Jennifer is very beautiful indeed. She is our resident cheerleader. She used to be a St. Louis Rams cheerleader. So there you go. So like I said, there's a lot of factors that go into making a serial killer. And it usually starts with the exhibition of certain behaviors and traits that predates their murderous streak. But a major link in how a lot of serial killers start off goes back to their upbringing, which I think we all know. Hey, Tamara, thank you so much for your super sticker. I so appreciate you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you. I love all of my Doors fans. I love them. The Doors are what makes this channel amazing. So a major link in how a lot of the serial killers start off goes back to how they were brought up. And for years, experts have studied the contributing factors that create serial killers. And we all know this because of the FBI's behavioral science unit and how it came about and their study of the serial killer. And it, there's an actual absolute fascination with them in this country. And I have to admit that I've always been fascinated by serial killers. And I think it's because of my psychology background and always wanting to know what made them tick and what caused them to do what they did. And it always frightened me that the majority of them could fit into society so well and basically fool those around them, the people who love them, the people who work with them, interact with them on a daily basis. These people and these types of people are cunning and very, very good at living double lives. So the experts have studied these contributing factors that create a serial killer, and they've concluded that there's a significant number of these people that had less than stellar childhoods. And I think we know that as well when we just look at some of the famous ones and we know what came out about their childhood. In fact, there's a curious connection that can't be ignored when it comes to childhood abuse and serial killers. Not only that, but serial killers have several telltale signs of who they are at that stretch from when they're young into adulthood. And some of these characteristics include engaging in animal cruelty, bedwetting, often as children, and starting fires. And questions has to be asked. Why do serial killers like lighting things on fire? Setting fires is a common trend among several well-known serial killers. And a few infamous names are David Berkowitz, the son of Sam. He started thousands of fires in New York City before he started killing. Hey, Bridget. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping in. Yeah, Boston, that is so true. That is so true. Boston says, I know that it is so scary. In our nursing classes, the professor stressed how dangerous they are and that trained police can't recognize them. It's the truth. It is so true. Hey, USA Libertarian. Then there's UK's United Kingdom's Bruce Lee, who killed over a dozen people in 7 years by committing arson. But why and what is the appeal of fire setting? Per Crime Museum, arson has a particular allure for the serial killer, and it is also a sign of their mental state, which gains pleasure from causing destruction. According to the Office of Justice Programs, a lot of serial killers also become arsonists as a result of their previous crimes. So, to prevent a later investigation, they will typically light a fire to eliminate any evidence of their misdeeds. This can be done to an entire crime scene or just a corpse. Usually, fire hinders investigation because it delays or obstructs proper research. And some serial killers are steps ahead of investigators and set fires to remove links to the crime. That is why arson is one of the most hardest crimes to investigate and to convict in a court of law. While many crime scenes destroyed by fire can still be scrutinized and even turn up useful clues, the act can destroy a significant amount of evidence. And that's per the National Institute of Justice. So we know that serial killers are terrifying. They terrify all of us. Just the thought of them terrifies us. And all we have to do is look at Hollywood. I mean, Hollywood has made a fortune off of serial killer movies. But what is extra super terrifying to me is a serial killer who doesn't get caught. The FBI tells us there are between 25 and 50 active serial killers in the United States at any given time. And there probably isn't even a real Dexter trying to take them all out. So the best we can do is to educate ourselves, avoid certain situations, and know which ones might be coming to get us. When we stop and think about serial killers, there were 2 serial killers that called themselves the Night Stalker. The Night Stalker 2 was Richard Ramirez, who killed 14 people in California in 1985 and liked to leave satanic symbols at his crime scenes. Good night, Shelby. I hope you feel better, honey. Get some rest. I'm glad you were here tonight. So, and he would do that just to make himself terrifying. And happily, he was apprehended with a year, and he died in prison in 2013 at the age of 53. The original Night Stalker, however, was the person we now call the Golden State Killer, who was also operating in California. Hey, Captain, how are you? It's so good to see you. Much, much respect, sir. Make sure you guys go check out his channel and his latest video. It is absolutely amazing. The Golden State Killer is believed to have killed at least 12 people between 1976 and 1986 alone. And according to the Sacramento Bee, he was fond of class rings and liked to steal them from his victims. He frequently would tie his victims up before killing them, sometimes with intricate knots, and used a variety of murder weapons. The trail was cold for a very long time, but in April of 2018, Sacramento police arrested Joseph James DeAngelo, a former police officer who still lived in the area where many of these crimes took place. The DNA linked to DeAngelo to several of the crimes, and in August, Rolling Stone noted that he had been charged in connection with 13 rapes and 13 murders. And the nightmare finally will have closure if he is found guilty. So there is a case out there called, and I don't know if you guys are aware of it or not, the Colonial Parkway Killer. The Colonial Parkway murders actually happened 30 years ago. And if you've ever been on a road trip and late one night, you really, really had to pee, and you saw a rest stop and thought to yourself, I'll just go there. Well, that's what happened. That was what was happening. This person was killing people that were stopping at rest stops late at night. Between 1986 and 1989, a serial killer was targeting couples traveling on the Virginia Colonial Parkway late at night. Most of the victims weren't attacked at rest stops, but they were all traveling on this scenic road that connects some of Virginia's most popular landmarks. Some of the victims' cars were abandoned and with the driver's side windows rolled down and the glove boxes opened, as if the victims may have been approached by someone they thought was a law enforcement officer, and they were getting ready to hand over their car's registration. 8 people died along the Colonial Parkway, always in pairs and roughly one each year, until the killings abruptly stopped in 1989. And even though the FBI has a list of 130 suspects in this crime, it's still no closer to apprehending the Colonial Parkway Killer. We all are very aware of the Zodiac Killer, who was active in California in the late 60s and 70s. And the Zodiac got his name from himself, which is a seriously lame way, I guess, to get an awesome serial killer name. But he was just tired of waiting for the media to come up with one. So he named himself. His moniker first appeared in a letter that he wrote to the media, to a newspaper, which also included a bunch of cryptograms that were supposed to reveal his identity, provided they could be deciphered. The Zodiac Killer's MO is eerily familiar. He targeted couples sitting in parked cars. So if that teaches you anything, be careful when you're sitting in parked cars as a couple. The Zodiac left a couple of survivors and witnesses who were able to describe him, but it wasn't enough for an arrest. and he enjoyed taunting police with letters detailing his crimes, but only 5 murders can be definitively attributed to him. He liked to claim there were many, many more. In one letter, he wrote, "Me equals 37, San Francisco Police Department 0. Though a few suspects have emerged, no one knows for sure who the Zodiac killer was or if he is still out there." These guys love to taunt the police, don't they? It's crazy. There's the I-70 killer. And in April of 1992, a 26-year-old clerk was shot to death in the Indianapolis store where she worked. 3 days later, 2 female store clerks were shot at a Wichita, Kansas bridal shop. And 3 weeks after that, there was a victim that was the 24-year-old manager of a boat shop in St. Charles, Missouri. And each of the 3 crimes, the crime scenes, was in a different state. But they all were in shopping malls off the interstate, and it was Interstate 70. And all the victims were murdered with the same gun and probably a semi-automatic .22 caliber pistol. In May of that same year, the killer murdered a 37-year-old woman working at a gift shop in a mall. He also killed a 40-year-old man working at a cement store or ceramics store. And in 1993 and 1994, there were 3 more murders in Texas, which police have also linked to the I-70 killer. So besides the obvious lesson that you should never take a job as a store clerk at a shopping mall, you should probably also not be working at any of these mall locations just off of Interstate 70. The thing with the Interstate 70 killer, 5 of his first 6 victims were brunette women, and the 6th might have been a mistaken for a woman because of his ponytail. These killings stopped abruptly in 1994, but no one has ever identified the I-70 killer. Serial killers often target the marginalized, and sex workers are no different. They are usually victims of serial killers. They're less likely to be missed by their friends and family, and going places with strangers is part of their job description. According to the city of Albuquerque, New Mexico, that was pretty much the rough outline of the bone collector's plan. And this modern-day serial killer buried at least 11 women and girls in a mesa on the outskirts of Albuquerque, New Mexico between 2001 and 2005. All but one of his victims was involved in prostitution, and the one who wasn't was in the company of a person who was involved in prostitution. The remains of these 11 women, plus an unborn baby, for extra awfulness, weren't discovered until 2009, which means this killer either decided to give up his hobby or he moved away and set up shop somewhere else, which often they do. Between 1985 and 1990, someone raped and murdered 9 women in Philadelphia, most who spent time in bars along Frankfurt Avenue. The really bizarre thing about this killer was his brazenness. And according to CBS 3 in Philadelphia, he even rented an office in a church in order to establish himself as a professional counselor, though he stopped short of using a giveaway name like Frank the Problem Slasher, or a catchy slogan like I'll end your troubles for good. The Frankfurt Slasher gained the trust of troubled bar patrons and then took them out and killed them. Some of their bodies would turn up in apartments, while others were discarded in weird places like under cars or in train yards. Police had a suspect who abruptly moved away before an arrest could be made, and that person died a couple of years later. Of course, that doesn't mean the case is closed. Unless someone comes forward with damning evidence, the Frankfurt Slasher could very well still be on the prowl, or maybe sitting in his own little office in a church in your hometown. Now that's terrifying. Hey, Jennifer, thank you so much for your super sticker, my dear. Thank you, thank you. So appreciate you. Between 2006 and 2008, Utah was a home to a killer with a particularly bizarre MO. He would enter women's apartments and strangle them, but he only did it on February the 9th. There were only 2 murders. Which a crime lab linked using DNA evidence. But for at least a few years after the murders, that February 9th date was enough to make people deadbolt their doors, or better yet, book a little February getaway to neighboring Moab for some sightseeing, hiking, because they were scared. After the second murder, the killer either lost his nerve or found a new hobby. Police were on high alert, and that might have been enough to convince him to not be a killer anymore, or at least to go to some other neighborhood and be a killer there. And according to the FBI, there's really no way to know for sure. Contrary to what you've probably heard, it is not always true that a serial killer will just keep on killing until they get caught or die. Some will find substitutions for murder, and some just find it too difficult to keep up given the other stuff in their lives, like hanging out with their family, whatever their other hobbies might be. So maybe the February 9th killer retired, or maybe he didn't. Either way, it's probably not a bad idea to keep paying more attention to serial killers that kill by numbers and dates, which Delphi seems to have some of that in common, I think. So that gives us an idea of some of the famous serial killers that have been out there, and we know some of those stories quite well. And what I wanted to talk about again tonight with them is some of the early signs of serial killers, and how do we go about finding a future serial killer. It isn't an exact science, you guys. There are a few signs that may help to identify people who have a great potential to become a serial killer. But these traits can typically foreshadow the violent activities that these killers engage in later in life, but are not linked directly to serial behavior. Extreme antisocial behavior is one possible indicator that an individual may have a problem, but it is by no means definitive. An antisocial personality disorder is a personality disorder defined by the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, or the DSM-4, as someone who knows no remorse or guilt. Other signs that one suffers from an antisocial disorder include patterns of lying, aggressiveness, failure to conform to social norms, and irresponsibility. Young people who develop a serious tendency towards voyeurism may be displaying an early indication of psychopathic tendencies. Serial killers often seek to have complete control over another human being, and watching them in private settings without their knowledge allows some to feel a sense of dominance. This is a trait many serial killers demonstrate from a very early age. One of the most common warning signs that potential serial killers display is a fascination with setting fires. While it may be common for young people to enjoy the sight of a fire, a psychopath's interest borders on that of being a potential arsonist. They will set anything they can on fire just to destroy it. Yorkie, thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. Oh, I cannot believe that you're sitting here with me at 2 a.m. How wonderful is that? I just adore that. Thank you so much for being here. So, for those of you that didn't know, serial killers display a fascination with setting fires. While it may be common for the young people to do this, the serial killer will set anything they can on fire just to destroy it. Another common indicator of possible serial killing behavior is killing or intentionally harming animals. They may provoke or target or even kill, torture cats, dogs, and other small animals. Even after seeing the results of their actions, this person will show no form of regret or remorse. Serial killers generally seek control over the life of another, and at a younger age, a small animal is the easiest to fully dominate. Any adolescent who displays this activity is at an extreme risk of developing into a serial killer when they reach adulthood. And I think that that's really important for people to pay attention to, that you can't just overlook those signs. If you have somebody in your life or someone that you know that abuses and harms and tortures animals, that is a huge red flag, and you need to get them help. That is not normal behavior. There are serial arsonists whose actions cause the death of others. However, they are only serial killers in the sense that they set fires and people are killed as a result of the fire. It doesn't seem that their primary intent was to kill anyone, but that is a misnomer. That is not the truth. There are serial killers who like to use arson as a way of killing. And unfortunately, because of arson in this country, so hard to prove in a court of law, it's not something that has been heavily studied as far as serial killer arsonists. They don't have a lot of documentation on this. But they do know that there are arsonists that are serial killers, and of course, that was their primary method of killing. A lot of serial killers, and most, like the close proximity to killing their victims, but there is because they like to watch the suffering and pain in their victim as the victim is dying, and arson would certainly be secondary to that because they wouldn't necessarily be able to witness that. However, it helps to destroy evidence and basically send what they've done onto a different path, I guess. So, hang on a second. I'm looking for another one of my articles. I thought it was right here. And the other thing, serial killers, most often than not, in fact, 99.2% of the time, serial killers kill strangers. And they have, when strangers are killed by serial killers, it is another difficult cog in the wheel of solving the crime, because law enforcement have difficult times solving crimes when strangers are killing strangers. It's much easier to solve a crime when the perpetrator knows the victim. Unfortunately, serial killers do kill for quite some time before they're caught. And because it's so hard to identify them, as we now know. And a lot of times they get caught because they do become sloppy. And most of the time that happens because they are mentally and emotionally spiraling out of control. Ted Bundy was caught because his urge to kill was so great that it had to be stated. I remember when I was in school, I had a professor who referred to Bundy as a boil on the ass of humanity. When we all laughed about it, he said he was very serious. Like a boil that fills with infection until it pops. Bundy had a thirst for murder. And the night of the Chi Omega murders, he was like a boil and he just popped. He was so animalistic that he bit a chunk of flesh from one of his victims. This shows a person who is absolutely out of their mind control. He was captured by police because he could not drive and was pulled over. He was swerving all over the road. A burglar's kit was found. He tried to run. He was booked for resisting arrest and possession of the burglar tools. But his fingerprints ultimately gave him away and made him a suspect in those Florida murders. Gacy was caught because his last victim told his mother that he was going to meet him, and the police began hounding him. He then went to his attorney and confessed, giving his attorney a diagram of his basement. Dahmer had a victim escape to raise the alarm. Alexander Pushkin was caught because his last victim wrote down his name and said she was going on a date. Moscow Metro CCTV footage showed her with her killer. His ID was then fairly easy. Wayne Williams was caught throwing something off a bridge and a body subsequently washing up near where police heard the splash. Gary Ridgway was caught by DNA evidence. Ed Kemper, he confessed after killing his mother and her friend. And Dennis Rader was caught because he sent a computer disk he had overwritten to the police. The original files belonged to the church where he worked and where he worshiped and where he was the president of the congregation. They were able to use that DNA, old photo fits, etc., to establish his guilt, and then he confessed. Andre Chikatilo, he was caught coming out of the woods during a police canvass. His ID was recorded, his papers checked, and he was let go. But a body was found a few days later in that same spot, and he was picked up. Robert Hansen had a victim get away, and police then realized he had a plane, and many victims were dumped in places only planes could go. Dennis Nilsen had body parts get stuck in his building's plumbing, and that's how he got caught. So basically, you can see that they're caught many different ways, but in general, they get so used to being successful in the act of murdering that they get complacent. They just begin to make mistakes. So, and a lot of times they will go into a cooling off period. And I think we see that. We saw that with BTK, with Dennis Rader. We saw that with the Golden State Killer. I guess you could basically say that the Golden State Killer retired because he just stopped and went on about living their lives. It's just really, really chilling to me. Arsonists are driven to start fires for many reasons. Some do it for financial gain. Some do it for, some are seeking revenge. Some want to be heroes, and some suffer from psychological or emotional issues. It's not easy to spot the signs of an arsonist. Hold on one second, guys. What in the world? Okay. That's weird. Okay. Some want to be heroes, and some suffer from the psychological or emotional issues. If it's not like if you go into their apartment or their home that there's arsonist magazines lying around, or they're locked in their bathrooms looking at pictures of fires. This is per N.G. Burrill, who's a forensic psychologist who focused on psychopathology and the psychology of criminal behavior for 29 years and has treated over 30 arsonists. He said people hide it pretty well. Yes, Pam, I'm very familiar with that case. Experts such as Burrill divide arsonists into these broad categories. They have the for-profit arsonist. That person is the hardest to catch, said James Burns, the president of the Firemen's Association of New York, which is an organization that instructs volunteer firefighters. So firefighters such as the Delphi community firefighters are volunteer. Flora is all volunteer. Most of your rural communities in the Midwest, for sure, are volunteer firefighters. The cities just don't have enough money to employ full-time firemen, and so they use the volunteer firefighter. It could be the building owner. Are they a suspect? Of course not, because the poor person is suffering. He just lost his home, so he's getting the sympathy of the public. For-profit arson is an umbrella term that covers such crimes as insurance fraud and destroying inventory. Instead of foreclosing on their home, this type of arsonist would rather burn it down and, as Burns call it, sell it to the insurance company, taking the arsonist out of any foreclosure and debt. The for-profit arsonist can hire someone to burn down their house or make it a do-it-yourself job. You then have the revenge-motivated arsonist. And these are the people who set fires out of rage. Revenge motivated arsonists feel as if they need to retaliate to gain satisfaction. Such arsons can be divided into personal revenge and societal, institutional, and group retaliation. And according to the United States Fire Association, a federal agency that provides fire data and fire education and research, in 1990, a jealous ex-boyfriend of a club goer set the Happy Land Social Club on fire in the Bronx, killing 87 people. The hero. These people are who set fires to rescue the victims. The hero thrives on excitement and attention. A subcategory of the hero is the firefighter arsonist. More than 100 firefighters a year are arrested for arson, according to a 2008 report from the National Volunteer Fire Council, a national association representing volunteer fire, EMS, and rescue services. The firefighter arsonist, an FBI profile. In 2003, the FBI's BAU, or Behavioral Analysis Unit, compiled a profile of a firefighter arsonist. The FBI study found that firefighter arsonists were mostly young firefighters, eager to put their training to use and to be seen as heroes to their department and to the people of the community that they served. He's creating a job for himself. He's seen as a hero, and he's getting notoriety for it, said Kulbarsh, a nurse who performed in the field psychological evaluations on criminals, including arsonists. The unit found that most firefighter arsonists use unsophisticated methods for fire starting and tend to start fires with matches or cigarette lighters. The unit's profile of a typical firefighter arsonist is a white male between the age of 17 to 25, a dysfunctional family with one or both parents missing from the home during childhood. If from a home with both parents, the emotional atmosphere was mixed and unstable. Poor marital adjustment, if not married, still living at home with their parents. Lack of a stable interpersonal relationship. Interested in fire service because it provides an arena for excitement, not for the sake of public service. Suffers from alcoholism, childhood hyperactivity, depression, borderline personality disorder, and suicidal tendencies. Average to higher intelligence, but poor academic performance. Now, they use the fire as a vehicle to feel better about themselves and to be viewed as someone who is heroic. Firefighter arson is the term used by the United States Fire Association, and in the early 1990s, an FBI study concluded that 75 firefighters were responsible for 182 fires, according to the United States Fire Administration Security National Fire Data Center. The firebug, also called a pyromaniac by the administration and psychologists who treat them, this is a person who's excited, sometimes sexually, by fire and the adventure that fire brings. There is some pleasure taken in the fact that they are a source of the fire in the sense that it starts with them. The pyromaniac enjoys the pageantry of the fire trucks and the presence of police officers, as well as the distress of the victims. Most firebugs surround themselves with their achievement, watching and rewatching the news coverage of the fire. The firebug also goes back to the scene, says Pam Kolbarsh, a nurse who for 8 years conducted the in-field psychological evaluations, including those of arsonists for the San Diego Police Department. Firebugs are usually emotionally immature, an angry person who feels powerless. Arsonists, like the firebug, escalate their fires over time. I don't think that somebody just wakes up one day and says, you know what, I'd really just like to burn down that house across the street, said Burrill, but it is something that they do work up to. In February, a 23-year-old Queens man was caught after a 3-day spree of starting 6 fires in 2 Queens malls. The firebug's frenzy started with a small fire in Macy's at the Queens Center Mall, and then escalated to setting clothing on fire in the Burlington Coat Factory in the Rego Park Center Mall. They need bigger and bigger fires, said Kolbarsh. Like a serial killer, they escalate because there's no way to get that feeling. Child's play. Fires started by children amount to close to 50,000 fires across the U.S. and accounting for 80 civilian deaths, according to 2011 data, the latest available from the National Fire Protection Association, which is an organization that works for fire prevention, regulations, and public safety. Nearly half of home structure fires involving mostly residential buildings, are started by someone between the ages of 4 and 6 years of age. Kids don't understand the extent of a fire, and they look at how big it is rather than how much damage it causes and how many people, that it hurts. Children who set small fires at home soon progress to larger fires. Younger children were more likely to set fires in homes, while older children and teenagers are more likely to set fires outside. Children start with small fires from within, and then they get bigger. It could be the building owner. So then it's dumpsters, and then it's vacant buildings. Then it's buildings with people in them. Adolescents are attracted to firecrackers and explosives. Parents should be monitoring and supervising these interactions of their children with fire. Children used to use fire to draw attention to stress in their lives. According to the American Psychological Association, such children could be facing depression, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or family stress. And when they talk about treating a child arsonist, we all like to watch fires, a nurse said, who talked to some criminal arsonists, but it's the draw to the fire that you have to keep pulling the kid back from. The American Psychological Association suggests that fire safety education, medication consultation, and therapy, if untreated, the child fire setter will only continue and escalate. If appointed to a psychologist, the treatment will entail individual therapy that would focus on the child's anger, impulsivity, and consequences of their arson. Dr. Burrill, the forensic psychologist who has been court-appointed to treat arsonists, said that it's imperative that children who like to start fires are treated and treated quickly. The general purpose of therapy is to reinforce pro-social behavior and build self-confidence. Doctors prescribe antidepressants or antipsychotics if they determine the child is seriously disturbed. So, what does this tell us? People are susceptible to boredom, and we seek an optimal level of arousal. Psychopathic individuals, however, appear to be low on arousal, and they try to elevate this by seeking novelty and by taking risks. And ways to achieve the optimal level by sensation seeking include transgressions, such as violence, arson, and even theft. Serial lust killers commonly have a history of committing non-sexual crimes and arson. And the internal organs of the body are under control of the autonomic nervous system, and high arousal being associated with dominance of the sympathetic branch and low arousal with the parasympathetic branch. And arousal is largely nonspecific, and it takes a positive or a negative value according to context. Switches can be made from negative to positive, which appears to lie at the basis of some lust killing. So I think that a lot of times arsonists are looking for the thrill. But I definitely think that serial killers, as we have learned, start out with arson and escalate, and sometimes continue to use arson as a method of murder. And what does that mean for Delphi and for Flora? Are we looking at serial arsonists? Are we looking at a serial murderer who may have started out as an arsonist? Possibly. Many of the things over the years regarding Delphi, people have talked about that this killer is a serial killer. The fact that he was so brazen and was able to kill 2 children in broad daylight in the middle of an afternoon makes him extremely sociopathic. And he has a extreme confidence in himself. And I think we see that if we take time to examine the video that Libby took on the bridge, and we look at the type of killer, not serial killer, but the type of killer that we may be looking at. He came across that bridge with the extreme confidence. That man had no fear in him whatsoever. He knew exactly what he wanted to do. He knew exactly what he had planned, and he was going to carry it out. And you know, did he know the victims? Quite possibly. Is he a serial killer? Quite possibly. We have to look at all the angles. We have to look at all of the possibilities when we're looking at the case. And I thought it was funny when I posted my thumbnail about this show on Reddit, somebody immediately commented and said, absolutely no way is Bridge Guy a serial killer. And I didn't respond, but what I wanted to say to that person was, well, thank you very much. I hope you've talked to law enforcement, because you obviously know who Bridge Guy is. Because you cannot say things like that emphatically. You don't know unless you know who Bridge Guy is. And that is what I will say on that. There is a lot to be said about the fires that are going on in Carroll County. There is something seriously wrong with the picture. There are tons of fires in Delphi over the years. There's a lot of fires in Flora, a lot of fires in other cities within Carroll County that are just absolutely ruled, well, we undetermined. We don't know what caused this fire. I just don't understand how you can just leave it that way and walk away. And especially when there's loss of life. And when people die in fire at home in their homes, I would think that every bit of the investigation, if you can't come to a conclusion, then you need to be calling in help. You need to be calling in other jurisdictions. You need to be calling in the FBI, the ATF. You need to be calling in anyone and everyone that can help you determine the cause of that fire when there is loss of life. You don't leave it marked as undetermined and put it on a shelf in the basement of the police department, because those people who die in those fires deserve their justice. And especially if those fires are suspicious. And I just don't think that's happening. And I just think that it's kind of like what Unsolved just said. The fires in the Flora Bringhurst area, not as many in Delphi outside of car-related fires. Flora Bringhurst and the surrounding 6-county areas are so far over the top, it's crazy. But if you look at Meow's video that she just put out, she goes back to 2009 and earlier. And there's a lot of fires in Delphi. There are a lot of fires. And people just barely got out. And it's like a lot of damage is done by these. And I just I hope that while we continue to cover it and bring the awareness, because I think it was SD who commented on my thumbnail maybe that said, sadly, the flurry around Kylie Rodney's case is keeping people from paying attention to Meow's videos and other things coming out about Flora, the fires, the corruption. But I think if we just keep putting the information out and we just keep at it, we're getting traction. People are starting to pay attention. Important people that need to be paying attention. And I feel good about that. I feel good about continuing that. And that's what I hope to do. What I think is funny, and like I told you guys before, whenever I talk about Delphi, like my last Delphi show, I had over 130 viewers, people watching. And whenever I put anything that has to do with Flora in the title or anything that might be associated with Flora, my viewership drops by half. And there's a reason for that. There is a reason for that. Everybody wants to talk about Delphi. Everybody wants to talk about what we think about what's going on and why has things got quiet and what is going on in Delphi and what happened to Abby and Libby and all of this. And you know what? I am right there with you. I want to know all of those things too. But when we start talking about 4 little African-American girls who were murdered in Flora, people don't want to talk about that. And that breaks my heart because Galen and her babies deserve our attention. They deserve the love and care that Abby and Libby get. And anybody who comes back, I finally decided how I'm going to address those people who say things like, don't connect these cases, or please don't make these cases be connected, or whatever. My feeling back to them is, why not? If it brings about eyes and people talking about their cases, why would we not want to? And that to me is the bottom line, because at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We want justice for Abby and Libby, and we want justice for the Flora Four. We want justice for those girls, and we want it solved. And whatever we have to do, it's really bizarre to me. It's like you could sit down and do a psychological paper or a thesis on how people react on social media to cases. It's just crazy. And I was reading something on Reddit today about one of the really large YouTubers in true crime who offered his car. He's got a really expensive car, to whoever finds Kylie Rodney or has the tip that leads to her recovery. He's going to give them this really expensive car. And people are all up in arms. They're fighting about this on social media. It's almost like it's caused more bad things than good, I guess. And that's what I don't understand. It's like it should be about the victim. It should be about the crime. It shouldn't be about us. It should have nothing to do with us as creators. Making it about ourselves. Hey, Pam. Is wrong, in my opinion. It's not about us. And it should never be about us. It's about them and their justice. And I'm going to always fight for that. I think you guys know that. And I think that because we have to tiptoe around some of the political stuff, because there is racism, there is hate crime, there are hate groups in Indiana. It's the rock bed of that state, or the bedrock of that state, whether they want to admit to their history or not. And it's still there to this day. So, hey, Pam, I can see you. You're not timed out. No, we can see you. And so I'm tired of that. And if I lose subscribers from it, then so be it. Because I'm not standing for it. I am not going to stand for the racist attitude around Galen and her daughters. I'm just not. They don't deserve that. And if that's what the people out there want to, continue to do, then let them do it somewhere else, because I'm going to still talk about it and still bring it up. Everything I keep hearing about Flora is how racist that city is. And it just made me... SD, thank you so much for your super sticker. Oops, sorry. I am so happy that you're here. You always have some of the best comments, and I appreciate you so much. Thank you so very much, you guys. I do too, Jennifer. I have zero tolerance for hate. Zero. I won't make excuses for it. I won't say, oh, but this, or oh, but that. No, there is no place for it. Period. None. And that is, I don't believe that, Hollywood, because I care. Racism and hate crimes matter to me. They don't just matter to the media. They should matter to anyone who has humanity and compassion in their blood. And that's my opinion. I don't care how it's being used. I don't. Hate and racism, there should be no place for it. And it is rampant in this country right now. And it has been since 2016. It has just come out of the woodwork. Like, people have believed it all this time, and they were always hiding behind something and kept it hidden. And then in 2015, 2016, they decided, oh, well, on the national scale, it's okay. So I can start showing my hatred and my racism. And that is what angers me. So it's not, I mean, I get what you're saying, how the media can latch onto things, but this is not a victim blame the media. This is about people and what you feel and believe in your heart. And we all have to examine ourselves and look at ourselves in the mirror. Because believe it or not, we have white privilege. And if you have to ask yourself what that is or why I feel that way, then you're part of the problem. Sorry, guys. That was weird. I think I accidentally. Can you guys hear me? I think I actually closed myself, took myself out of the stream. I don't know what I was doing. Pigeon, thank you so much. I was excited to see that. And I was trying to grab it and put it up on the screen. And I think I closed with my mouse. I think I closed it. Pigeon Mac, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you. Some new member content is coming your way very soon. And it's not just the media. I mean, sadly, the media has become politicized, and that is never a good thing. Hey, Derek, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here. Oh, Hollywood, it's fine. I didn't want you to think I was attacking you. I was just, I think I get outraged, and I understand what you're saying, that people listen to what the media tells them. But what I think is, I feel like, when I see blatant racism and people being disrespectful, just because of someone's skin color, something that they cannot control, nothing they did, they couldn't do anything about that. That's how they were born. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Welcome back, Shahid. And Hollywood, yes, I agree with Tamara. Thank you so very much for being here, because I appreciate you being here. And I don't care, like I said, I don't care what anyone's color is. Everyone is welcome here. Everyone is welcome as long as you don't express those kinds of values. And if you do, then you're not welcome. And you're very welcome, Derek. I try to live not only by what I preach, I try to live it. I just, I will never understand it. I never will understand hate and racism. And I look at my 4-year-old grandson who just started preschool, and his best friend is a little African-American girl who he absolutely adores her. And he does not see her color. They both have really long hair, both of them. He hangs in just curls, big long curls. And he talks about how beautiful her hair is. And this little boy has no sense of color. And I wish that that's how he would grow up. But I know that that won't happen because society won't let it. Oh, it's okay, Derek. We just had that severe weather all day today. It just left us. I think the severe thunderstorm warning expired at 9 o'clock for us, but we had it all day. And it was we had some really severe wind there for a while. So it's, you know, it's just crazy. Comments just don't need to happen that are hurtful. And it's I know kids are great, kids are so pure and their hearts are so loving, and we teach them all the wrong things. We teach them how to view others, and sadly we teach them our biases, and we teach them our hate. And we all have it. I'm not saying I don't. I mean, I grew up in a very different time. I grew up in the 60s when things were crazy when it came to race. And I saw a lot and heard a lot, and it's not okay. It's just not. It's not okay. And people that live in these areas that we're talking about with these two cases, they need to check themselves about how they feel about people. And there's many different types of arsonists. We've talked about them tonight. And to me, we could be looking at a hero arsonist, most definitely a firefighter. I would not at all be surprised. You're right, Jennifer. Satan does love racism. And he also loves infighting. He likes to pit us against each other. So to me, that's evil. Evil likes to keep things muddied and all messed up. And the more people fight with each other, the more the big picture is missed. And yeah, it's sad, but that's one of the things that's going on in our world. You can't even walk down the streets of New York and feel safe as a person of a different race, because somebody will jump you and beat you up. I mean, we've seen it happen, and it's sad. Bridget says, my son told me he has never noticed differences in people from different race, religion, lifestyle, perspective. He thanked me for that. He's shocked that others judge so much. Bridget, my oldest grandson, he just turned 8. He'll be 19 in January. He just graduated from high school. He just joined the Carpenters Union and has a full-time job now. And he is just now getting a taste on the job sites of some of the extreme views, and especially the conservative type of views with the racism and just a lot of hate. And he's floored by it. He wasn't raised that way. And he's such a kind soul and a loving soul. I think that's one of the reasons it's been hard for him. But we've had a lot of good conversations, he and I. And, he will just tell me that, he's like, I don't understand people. He said, why do people judge others by those things? He said, wouldn't it make more sense to get to know them, or not judge at all? He goes, who are we to judge? Shouldn't that be God's job or someone else's job? It's not ours. And I agree with him on that. So, but I hope you guys learned something tonight. I'm going to get out of here. Been here a little bit longer than I wanted to be. I'm going to go ahead and do my giveaway. Just let me get my my giveaway tool up here so that we can get it going for you. Hold on one second. Here we go. And one of the things, what we're going to do tonight is I'm going to have you put in hashtag love. We need to spread more love. We need a lot more love in this world and a lot less hate. And that's going to be what gets you in the drawing. Again, we're drawing for the Delphi bracelets for the girls, for Abby and Libby, like the one that I have on here. And what will happen is if you guys win, I will ask you to email me your information and I'll mail it out to you. And for those of you that have already received your bracelets that have already won, I'm glad that you got them. Thank you for letting me know that you did get them. If for some reason someone doesn't get one, gets lost in the mail or whatever, please let me know and I'll be sure to get one sent right back out to you. We are in the process of getting bracelets made for the floor girls because I think that they deserved bracelets as well. And I know that they had them in the beginning, but that's still not an active thing. Nothing was with them. And so we're trying to rectify that. And thank you for everyone who was with me tonight. Thank you for all of you sticking around. I hope you did learn something about serial killers and all the different types of serial killers and the things that we should be watching out for when it comes to them, because these people are in families just like ours. And the more, hey, Michelle, how are you? I just saw you just now. Thank you so much, Betty. You are so kind. Jennifer, I'm just going to send you one because you're going to cry if I don't. Hey, Digital. You are a sweetie. But yeah, you guys, thank you for everything. Thank you for hanging with me. I know it's long. I'm long-winded. Sometimes I need to be quiet, but I can say hi to her if she anyway. At least she's here. Yeah, Michelle, she has been a brat tonight. She's been whiny. I'm just kidding, Jennifer. You are never a brat. Not to me, anyway. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes with you and Michelle, but anything's possible. I'm going to show you guys this again because I love it. But did you guys see this is my cup that I had made for myself with my stuff, and it's got my name and it's just the coolest. I love it, and it keeps my water ice cold. I love it. So if you guys are if anybody's interested in these, I can give you the name of the company I used on Etsy to make it. I had one made for my daughter, a special one made for her. But if you guys want to make one for yourselves or you want to do it for gifts for people, the woman who does these, they're really reasonable. And I really, really love it. Take it everywhere with me. Helps me to keep drinking my water. Anyway, so that's always a good thing. But so is anybody else interested in the drawing? I've got 9 entries and we had over 60 people in here. So just want to make sure before we draw, if anybody else wants it. Hashtag love if you want to be in the drawing. Here we go. Oh, wow. Okay, just a second. And I will share my screen with you guys. Hang on a second. Go to system. To fix it, go to system preferences. Selecting the lock button. Okay, so it's not going to let me. I'm going to have to fix this. I'm going to have to do it after the stream. The winner was Tattooed Girl. So Tattooed Girl is the winner tonight, and it's not letting me share my screen. Has to do with Apple. There's something I have to go in and do on stream or on Chrome. So I will have to do that when I'm done. So Tattooed Girl is the winner. And all I need you to do is email me your information and I will get it mailed out to you. And so, yeah, Tattooed Girl. So congratulations. And again, you guys, I absolutely am thrilled to have spent another Saturday evening with you. Catch me tomorrow live on Unsolved Crimes Uncovered's channel, Allie's channel. I will be there with Gonzo. Just so you know, this is the first time I have been invited on another channel. So 6 months, and I'm doing that for the first time. I'm really excited about it. I want to, I just think I think it's really cool. Do you guys want me to draw again? Is Tattooed Girl gone? I can do another draw. Do you guys want me to do another draw? I don't mind. Here we go. Melodramatic Monday. Tamara, just email it to me. Just email it to my email address that Nightbot just dropped. Email that to me and I'll send it. Melodramatic Monday has just won a bracelet. So, Tattooed Girl is here. You're very welcome. I have 2 winners tonight, so that's totally fine with me. So, I appreciate everybody. So just go ahead and get those sent to me, and hopefully I will see. It's okay, Melodramatic Monday. I drew twice. Go ahead and email me your stuff, and I'll get it sent over to you. Okay, not a problem. I know, Michelle. Keep trying, my dear. I've got plenty of bracelets, so we're going to keep having drawings. It'll eventually happen, I know. All right, everyone. I will see you guys all on Tuesday night. You guys have a great rest of your weekend. Thank you so much for being here with me. I love you all. Good night, everyone, and be safe out there.